Nice to have you here and to talk today about Darwin. Darwin recently achieved their solution certification against the SBC framework. And what we like to do is dive into what does that mean? You know, what does Darwin do as a company, as a platform, and how are they progressing through this journey of what we call smart building? I'm joined today by Peter Kok from Darwin, and he's going to give us the ins and outs of everything that is going on with this incredible company. We were actually introduced to Darwin 4 years ago when we did a smart building tour here in Amsterdam to one of the smartest buildings that we saw at the time. And we kept seeing Darwin, and we kept seeing all the different solutions that were being promoted during that event and during that tour. And so here we are 4 years later, having them part of the ecosystem, solution certified, and I'm ready to dive into it. So without further ado, I'm going to pull Peter onto stage, and we're going to give it a shot. Hello, Peter.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, also good. It's been been incredibly busy, lots and lots going on, and I think I'm excited to dive into it with you because I think smart building is changing quickly, and you've been doing it.
Yeah.
But why don't we start with first an introduction to who you are and who your company is and what you guys are up to.
Okay. Well, first of all, Nicholas, thanks for having us here, for having me here. As you said, my name is Peter Kok. I'm one of the commercial strategic responsible people of Darwin. And what Darwin is, actually, I'd like to take you with me back, let's say 5-6 years ago, because Darwin was actually came as a spin-off in an existing company called JMV. JMV has been existing for over 35 years now, and mostly active in the home automation, domotica, audio video. 80% of their business is aimed to do office buildings, college environments, but also the high-end luxury residential environment. And actually, at that time, a constructor came on our path, and he asked us to if we had a solution for a smart company that was building a distribution center in Tilburg nearby, and he told us the company was Tesla. And Tesla was actually aiming to create a distribution center for the assembly of their cars, and they wanted everything in the building being monitored. So going from lighting, going from access control, mainly to aim on predictive maintenance. And the question was, hey guys, do you have something for that? And our answer at that time was, no, we actually don't, but might be that we can create something. So we went to the drawing table actually together. We sat down and we made what we in that time called App 1.0. And App 1.0 was an application on a tablet where they could real-time see the systems in their building with real-time response, real-time notifications on issues on maintenance. And we delivered that in 2016. There was actually a joint force project. So Darwin wasn't the name yet. It was a couple of software guys together with the people from JMV. And as I said, we called it App 1.0. Well, after the Tesla project, a second project came along with the same question. Most surprising, we called it App 2.0 at that time. And then when the third came, we thought, okay, this might be the moment to have a further look into this, to see, okay, what's actually the question people have within buildings. What are they aiming for? Why are they asking those things? And what's smart building for us? And actually, that last question was something we were able to fill in quite fast, because we were thinking, what if we are able to take any kind of system in a building which creates data, which is actually an individual, as we call it, silo, operating individually. What if we are able to take all those different, let's say, organs, connect them together to one brain? So we are able to have the data from those individual systems at one place. And why? Simply because it's more efficient and it's more comfortable for the end user, whether it is a maintenance user or a maintenance manager or a facility manager. So that was actually the first step. We spend a lot of time with all kinds of marketing agencies, thinking about what would be a good name. And then a client actually came up with the name indirectly, because they told us it was quite revolutionary what we were doing at that time. And from revolution we came to evolution, and from evolution it's quite a short step to Darwin. So that's why we named it Darwin. Surprisingly, the name was still available in Europe, so we claimed immediately that name for Europe, 28 countries, and that was actually the start of Darwin.
What year was that?
That was 2016.
Okay.
That was 2016. At the same time, with JMV, we were in a pitch for Van der Lande Industries. They are located in Veghel, and mainly they were focusing at equipping their building with new audio-video technology for meeting rooms, for collaboration rooms, etc. And JMV was one of the three companies doing the pitch. And of course, with every pitch, they asked us, okay, why are you guys able to be different than the other AV companies? Yeah. And at that time, of course, we were in the first beginning of Darwin, and we explained our vision on smart building. So we weren't talking about audio video. We weren't talking about video conference calls. We were talking about connecting and collaborating. So making sure that all different parties entering a building, all different installers, all different systems, to create an environment, sort of an ecosystem where they are all brought together. First of all, of course, for us, but second, if they are connected to us, they're indirectly also connected to each other, which makes sense, and which enables other installations or other companies to be smarter than they were before also. So we gave our vision on smart building, and that actually made us win the pitch. And Van der Lande, besides the Tesla project I mentioned, was actually the first launching customer for the new Darwin platform. Wow. From there, we thought, okay, so we are able now to connect all kinds of systems to one brain and centralize data. But what are we going to do with this data? Are we able to create if this then that statements? So we are able to add an extra layer to a building to make sure that buildings sort of start to work for themselves. So that was the second step, a huge step we made. to make sure that, okay, if there is a certain situation in a building, if this, then system A or B should act like that. And that part, so that intelligence is what we built into the brain of Darwin, making sure that systems, but not only systems, also processes behind those systems are fully operational, fully automated actually.
No, and that's what I love about it, because it goes beyond the tech. It goes to the human interaction with that technology, which we find so very, very important in the program. And yeah, it's one thing to provide insight, to give you some graphs and charts. And one of the modules we have in the smart building certification is maturity of smart, for exactly that reason. It's one thing to have insight, to have dashboards and the ability to see the issue, but when the building starts to autonomously take control or action, that's a whole nother level. And that's what you guys are delivering now, which is so exciting.
Yeah, well, that took us some extra years. So
Yeah.
the first two steps were made, and then in the third step we made, actually the last 1.5, 2 years, is to say, okay, so now we have a solution for environmental sustainability. We have a solution that adds value to the building sustainability. But what about the human sustainability? Because you hear about the environment or the building everywhere, but there's also a factor which is very important, the human sustainability, because the user in the end is the one who needs to be who needs to adapt with the building and the solution to make sure that sustainability is really not only a goal but also how do you say it, also executed.
Yeah.
And so we started looking at, okay, how would a user like to use the building and the systems in the building? And quite fast we came to the conclusion that the way I want to control my home and the way I want to do things at home, I would like to do the same in my office or in the place I work. So we translated everything to a smart building app, which is on your tablet or on your smartphone, and which enables you, of course, if you have the rights, to do everything you want in the building, control any system, find a colleague, book a room, enter the building with the integrated access control, but also order the lunch of the day if you want to. So we really didn't only look to integrating hardware and external third-party systems, but we really our approach was really to, okay, let's have a look at the end user and all the processes that are potentially automated because of our solution.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you want to start a meeting, plan a meeting, that's where it starts. If you want to plan a meeting, add visitors, whether they are physically in the room or attending through a video call. If you want to add catering, if you want to have people park on the parking lot, etc. All things you can imagine. They all have their own separate process into the third-party system. Access control system needs to know what the license plate is. Catering manager needs to know what catering, where, at what time, how many people are in the room. If we have a meeting with 3 or with 10 people, that is a huge difference to the climate system.
Yeah, so I think you're making a bridge already, because what I'd like to do is I'd like to go through the SBC framework, and one of the modules on there that we like to dive deep into is user experience and collaboration. So I think you've actually already covered that one off pretty well with, that it's a human-centric approach with an app that you can do anything with. But the reason I stopped you is I think it's a perfect segue into that first module is building usage, right? And building usage is how do you as a tool or as a building manage how the asset is being utilized, right? So all that user experience information and data that comes from what people are doing serves a purpose also on a management perspective of how do you keep control over how your assets being used. So with that, how does the Darwin system or solution or platform help with building usage perspective? And I think what we'll see in all of these modules is that Darwin is able to work in all of them because you're very much kind of a master system integrator in a lot of ways where you're bringing all these different solutions together. But what is the approach you guys take from a building usage perspective? And then we'll go into the performance and environment.
Yeah, well, let me first point out that indeed it's a term I like, master integrator, but we do have a lot of respect for the third-party systems connected to us. So we know we are not a lighting installer. We are not a climate installer. We are not an access control installer, etc., etc., etc. We know that those specific needs come from the third party. It's their knowledge, their experience also. But what we do is take everyone and bind them together. In the past, we made the comparison with Lord of the Rings. we are that one ring to bind them all, and that's also the purpose we have to make sure that everybody is in their own strength with their own knowledge and experience, but we simply add a layer that combines all parties together. If you look at usage, for example, first of all, in the most you can take Darwin and integrate it in a small version, but of course also in the most broad version you can think of. But if you look at it in the most simple way, at first we are able to have all data centralized at one place, which enables you as, for example, a building owner or a building manager to go to one user interface, one place where you can find data. You don't have to go through 5 or 6 specific applications or user interfaces. You have it at one place. And from that point of view, you can also, in our environment, start making comparisons. So compare data, put data on top of each other to come to certain conclusions. Of course, through the years, we automated that also, which enables us to inform you about certain adjustments you can make, certain adjustments you should make to make sure that either your usage is going down or for example, your electricity usage is higher now than the same period last year. We can explain to you why and what you should do about it. If you look at the automation part coming from the user-centered approach, is that we can, of course, we pull out the data, but we can also control. So if you look at it like that, we are able to put systems off or put systems in standby in cases they are not necessary to be operational. For example, look at a meeting room. If I go into my car this evening and I drive to Amsterdam, from Den Bosch to Amsterdam, you'll be surprised how many buildings there are that are still on. Lights are still on. Rooms are still on. Well, we are able to make sure that systems are not active when they're not should be active.
Yeah, so that's
when they don't need to be active.
The building performance module where we talk about energy, water. We talk about the sustainability aspects that you would
Yeah.
most likely report your E from your ESG on your environmental impact.
Yeah.
So what kind of data are you guys pulling in? Are you pulling in all of that data? Would you pull in water data? Would you pull in utility data, that kind of stuff? Or how do
Yeah,
you?
of course. We are depending on the other systems.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, if we want to, and if the client wants to, we can pull in any kind of data you want, from water usage, electricity usage, to even how much electricity are the electrical vehicles taking. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so what's the guidance then? How do you guys take a client down a process to do the right level, right? I think what we're seeing right now is that there's a certain level of smart building and data that is going beyond what is actually being used and what is actually
Yeah.
needed. So how do you, as a company, take your clients down a journey that makes sense?
Well, actually, the first step we take is we take them by the hand and say, okay, let's do two steps back. Because if you look at, and we did the same, for example, with Van der Lande in that time, which was, I think, 2017. You have different stakeholders in a company. And those stakeholders, unfortunately, are most of the times not aligned at all. So you have the IT department, you have facility management, but you also have building management, you have maintenance, and then there is the generic user. And they all have their own budget, they all have their own wish list. And sometimes they want the same, but in a lot of times they also have different wishes, different needs. So we try to take them by the hand and say, okay, let's do two steps back. Let's zoom out, get every stakeholder at the same table. So we are able together to get the total approach, all wishes, all needs of the entire organization. The funny thing is, if you do it like that, in the end, you see that if you take all separate budgets, which is 100%, and we do it together at one table, it's altogether it's 80%. So that's where we make the first win financially, and we go from there with every stakeholder. We try to get the information where they want to go to, what's important for them, and we turn it into a total roadmap actually, and start working from there.
Yeah, circle the common denominators that make sense for everyone and then have them share it. So it's a full-on hands-on approach from the
Yeah.
beginning you work with a client. And I think that that's critically important and interesting for our audience as well. Like, what we also are often talking about is that smart building is not something that you just buy and you're done, right? We're talking about enterprise change. We're talking about new processes, new ways of thinking about things, new ways of setting yourself up in order to use that technology in a meaningful way. And
Yeah.
so it's a serious program that you're embarking on when you go ahead and decide to build a smart building. So I
Yeah.
love this approach that it's very, very thoughtful at the beginning so that you can, go a little bit slower so you can go fast later on. I think that that's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Absolutely. Well, it's absolutely necessary, because otherwise, during the process, you will hit walls together. I mean, facility management, for example, to automate those processes, we need the IT departments. It's simple as that. And if you don't have them aligned, then somewhere in the process of the project, you'll find out that you can't go any further without having them there. And therefore, the holistic approach, we try to do that from the beginning, to make sure also to have clients think of needs they didn't think about themselves. So, for example, catering if you see how easy it is to add more sustainability to the catering process, simply to have it automated and connected to the meetings that are taking place. It's an eye
Well,
opener for a lot of people.
I think you probably, and I think we'll go into the environment stuff in a minute because I think that's so interesting. But on every level, every one of those silos, there's so much to be improved, and you know, and of course, every situation is different, every building is different, and every
Yeah.
organization behind those buildings are different. So there are a number of departments and streams that operate very, very efficiently. But in general terms, when you start to put data on things that haven't had data before, there's a lot of
Yeah.
improvement
Absolutely,
that
but
can be made.
also not only the data part. You know, if you look at the start of a project, so because because so many parts of the building are taken by different stakeholders or departments. To give you an example, if you look at censoring in a building, so for
Yeah, which is the
example.
perfect tech to environment. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you take, if you look at censoring, then you'll see that in 8 out of 10 buildings, the approach is okay. We have the silo building management where the climate system is, but we also have the silo lighting where also censoring for the lights are. And if you look at the end, in the end, you see that altogether we have the ability 3 or 4 sensors in a room to measure something different.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're trying to do is take the position. Okay, that's an option, but you can also have one integrated sensor where you can measure everything, which is the censoring is then also a different silo, an individual silo, but the data through Darwin is being forwarded to the separate systems. And if you look at it that way, then on censoring level and also infrastructure, a client is able to cut out 30 to 40% of their initial project cost because they make a smart choice. And that doesn't have to do anything with smart building at that point. But in the end, there's one sensor doing everything for you, and it's not even our own sensor. But we also look at it from that perspective. Okay, how can we help you take down the initial project cost for your building?
Yeah, and you know, to your point, I think it depends on how you define smart building. You know, for
Yeah,
me,
absolutely.
I think that smarter way of working, that smarter decision process, that smarter way of calculating financial return on investment, that to me is smart building, right?
Yeah.
It goes beyond technology. It goes, you know, what I hope to see, if I'm honest, over the course of the coming years, our platinum buildings actually have less technology in them, that it
Yeah.
is a better use of technology, that it's a more efficient use. It's that there's less overlapping technologies and just one streamline that's getting your value in many different buckets. So I
Yeah.
think you're spot on in your assessment. So are you helping your buildings then decide the other technology components that are going in there, or are you coming in later? It
That
sounds like
depends.
you
Yeah,
are
it
kind of
depends
in there. Yeah.
sorry, yeah. It depends on at what time we enter the project.
Yeah.
If we are able to be there in time, then yes, we help them decide. So, and to be clear about that, we don't have any commitment with other systems. So for us, it's equal if you put Priva in or Johnson Controls or Honeywell or it doesn't matter to us. We can connect with any system, but yes, we help them look at the bigger picture and advise them. Okay, maybe this is a better choice because. And specifically, and that's why I pointed out the sensor part. if you add 3 or 4 sensors to a room to all measure different parameters, you need 4 sensors, you need four times cabling. Do that in a building of, let's say, 20,000 square meters. Bring that back to 1 cable and 1 sensor, and I don't have to do the math for you. So that's your first win, and that still hasn't got to do anything with the integration afterwards.
Yeah, and that's not only a cost win; it's also a sustainability win.
Yeah.
I think people underestimate the sustainable footprint of sensoring and cabling and all of those things that go into it. So to be more efficient in that selection process. And I was at an event last week, and we were speaking to a bunch of building owners, and I truly feel for them in having to be able to select solutions and select the right parties to work with. And that's why we launched this solution certification, is to hopefully help that navigation. And it's functionality, right? It's what does that technology do, but it's also who is the organization behind that technology, right? Because when you buy it, like you said, it's not something you buy and you're done with. It's something you buy and you need to continuously develop and move and evolve. And you want to make sure that you've got the right team sitting across the table from you for that process. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's going to be extremely challenging.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so that's why we sometimes they think of us like the kid in the classroom that's a bit cheeky, but we simply try to point out, okay, we think this could be that there are more smart choices than the choice you're making now, and we simply point that out to them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think master system integrator is something that I'm seeing a lot in the UK as an example.
Yeah.
And then there's kind of two camps at this moment with master system integrators. You have the pure master system integrator, which is more the consultant, the one who's just helping them through that process of selection, connection, and execution. Kind of how do you use these technologies? And then you have another camp which has a platform or a technology that they're linking them into. And a lot of people have a problem with them because they say, oh, they're not a pure master system integrator. But, our opinion is whatever works, whatever works to get your efficiency, your ROI, your business running in a meaningful way, we're happy with it.
Yeah. Well, over the last, let's say 18 months, we took Darwin to a next level. So we're talking about Darwin 2.0 now, which means that in the past, so the first projects we've done were really not so much one-offs, but had a lot of custom adjustment in it. Over the last 18 months, we were able to create a real generic and scalable software, which enables us to also help other master integrators offering Darwin. So, for example, in the audio video industry, because they are close to the end user, close to smart workplaces, smart collaboration tools, etc. So they're actually the first to get the question for smart building from a user perspective, and we simply cannot be at all places at the same time. So that's why we made our software more generic to enable that also other integration companies with the same vision are able to create a smart building with Darwin. Same goes for system integrators who do building management systems or lighting integrators.
Yeah. And I think that's a perfect segue into the environmental module that we talk about with the certification. What are you guys doing, or what is your philosophy around kind of health, well-being, indoor environment, and what kind of solution is Darwin for that part of the business?
Well, first of all, of course, we have our parameters in our dashboards, in our specific modules pointing out whether the building is reaching up to its BREEAM goals, or in this case, reaching up to the to the well standard. But still, then it's difficult to put comfort and health into a number. I mean, you can create a dashboard or put it on the digital signage with a large green thumb saying you're doing great. If 80% of the users aren't feeling great or are having difficulty finding their way in the building or using the building, then we're not meeting up with the standards. So that's actually why we took the step to give them an application that's same easy to use as you use your Apple HomeKit or Alexa system at home. The same the same user flow and easiness to put your TV on at home. We want to offer that in the Darwin application for your meeting room. So if you take the Darwin app and you go into a, of course, fully integrated Darwin building, you enter the meeting room, you are able to adjust the lights, adjust the screens, put on the presentation screen, connect with Teams or any other device or source you would like to you have on you or you would like to connect, but also to have you create your own scenes. So just one press on the button and the entire room and just adjusts itself to you or to the kind of meeting you are having. And I think that's a big part, offering comfort to users. On the other hand, we also know that if you have a busy schedule, so for example, you are in sales and you have a busy schedule, basically let's be honest, you don't care about is the light on or is the temperature okay. I have a meeting of 45 minutes, I go in and I go out. So from that perspective, it's very important that there is a form of automation behind it to make sure that you don't have to be aware of all those techniques and all the scenarios behind it. We do it for you. So you can simply enter the room is on, you leave the room, and if there's nothing else happening in that room, the room goes to a standard or basic setting. So from that point of view, we take away, we offer you comfort, we take away the responsibility for you to do something with it, and at the same time, we make sure that the building is as green as possible.
Yeah. And I think there's some sort of advantage from coming from an AV background, right? Because I think AV gives you the opportunity to not only make it a functional room, but make it an inspiring room. Make it, I remember the building that we toured that you guys were in. You had that audio-visual room that was just 360 with just a lot going on. That was pretty impressive.
Well, for example, you're absolutely right. Coming from the customer experience and user experience is in our DNA. Before we were working on Darwin, we were doing really high-end, and JMV is still doing high-end residential environments. And there isn't a customer more high demanding as the owner of a high-end residential building. So that's in our DNA. So we know what it is to go from the other side of the table and to make sure, okay, I don't care what kind of technique is in my building. I don't care whether it's brand A or brand B. I just want it to work. Yeah. And I just want it to work together with as less steps as possible. And that's what we try to do at all time, to make sure that systems, processes are fully automated, to make sure that the effort the user has to put in is as less as possible.
Yeah. And before we go into security and cybersecurity and all that, because I think that's such a critical piece of information and something that you definitely, I'm sure, have your finger on. Let's stay with the user experience side for a sec, because what I'm really excited about is, in the next few weeks, few months, we're going to be doing our think tanks on human performance and health, and we're doing one now on return on investment of smart. And I think when those two worlds come together, it becomes really interesting, and everybody's trying to crack the code on what is the ROI of an office or of a smart office on human performance. And when you were talking just a minute ago, it's really interesting because people are maybe there's a lot of other things going on in their life that the color of the screen or the color of the lights is doesn't take away that they just did an hour and a half commute in traffic, or they got in an argument with their boss, or they those kinds of other factors are always playing into the human performance or human health equation. But I think with smart buildings, and now with with AI coming to the scene, we can start to get to a closer level of truth on those human aspects and human health elements. And where I don't think we could quantify it before, we're going to start getting closer and closer to being able to quantify those things. What are you guys seeing? What is your vision or view in the next 5-10 years on that and the use of AI and how you're going to drive this forward?
If you look at the current, for example, office environments, there's still so much work to do in the basic setting. That we are not even close to having AI in that form integrated, especially since start to crawl first and then start to run. And I think if you look at the couple of real smart buildings we have, if you look at the Netherlands, Belgium, there are a couple of truly smart buildings, but it's only a few. And if you look at the majority of the market, we still have to do so much. If you only look at sustainability, if you only look at creating smart workplaces, I think those are the first steps we need to take.
And I love that answer, because I think in order for AI to work, or for you to be able to use it, you need data. You need good data.
Yeah.
Garbage in, garbage out kind of thing. And I think you're spot on to the reality of the real estate space of you need to have good data first, and you need to have smart infrastructure in order to get that good data first. But it is interesting because I think AV is a perfect example of where some of the disruption in smart building comes from, right? Also, when you look at different Wi-Fi points or different, cabling infrastructure can deliver you a certain amount of smart building functionality or tech. And that's really interesting, because as we get closer to the desire for that AI, because you see it everywhere else, I think there will be faster innovation happening in the workspace. And maybe not full integrated smart buildings, but pulling that data from somewhere else.
Yeah, could be.
We'll see. Time will tell. But these think tanks that we're working on are going to be so awesome, and I hope you guys join a couple of them, because they're going to be.
We will, absolutely, and the important thing of those think tanks, I think, is to create, to share knowledge, of course. But also to create a certain awareness, because if you look at a specific building now from a technical point of view, all those individual installers, they are at a different level of knowledge from looking at integration. You just said it before, smart building. If you ask somebody, if you ask the neighbors here, what's smart building, or I ask the other neighbor, I get two completely different answers. Putting a sensor in a room is called smart building. Having lights being adjusted automatically is smart building. But what we do is also smart building. So, we need together to create a certain awareness, share knowledge. And from our point of view, we are more than happy to share our knowledge and to make sure that companies or installers that are not that far yet, to take them with us in our slipstream and
Yeah.
and make sure that they are being or are able to be smarter than they are right now, with simply one goal, that building and the end user. And I think in those think tanks, it's the perfect place to share knowledge and create awareness.
Yeah, I was on stage with one of our buildings last week, and he says if you set out to build a smart building, you're going to struggle. He says you need to set out to build the best building you possibly can, and you'll probably make it quite smart because technology helps you do that. And I
Yeah.
love that, and I think it speaks very much to your all's philosophy of let's take a couple steps back, let's think about what we're trying to do, and then do it really, really well,
Yeah.
and then use technology in a meaningful way. And I think the ones that are just putting in a lot of tech to say it's a smart building, I think it makes for a challenging next step, I would say.
Well, it's not different than in some ways than selling a car. So you can walk into a car showroom and say, okay, I want a car to go really fast. Okay, but it's best for me to know where you want to go to, how long the trip is, to make sure that you're comfortable and all the other assets in the car are adjusted to your needs. And that's the same with smart building. You can, of course, everybody's welcome to start with, I want smart building. Okay, but then the first question is, what are your needs in your daily operations for your people in their daily operations? And then we sort out what smart building means to you and how we can get there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why a checklist approach for certifying smart buildings doesn't work, in my humble opinion.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I do want to hit on kind of your views on security real quick, because I think that cybersecurity and security in general, more importantly, cybersecurity is going to be the number one or number two issue that we need to focus on in the coming 5 years. What
Yeah.
is your guys' take on it, and how do you guys tackle it?
How do we tackle it? Well, of course, like every other company, I would say our cloud environment is very secure. Of course, it would be wouldn't be good if I had to say otherwise. That's also something we do in the full cooperation with the IT tech departments of the client. So. We have our own cloud environment. We can use the dedicated Azure environments of the client, but we can also still do things on-prem. It depends on, or hybrid, so a mix of the two. The nice thing is that actually everything that connects with Darwin is behind all the firewalls of the client, and they are actually fully managing it themselves. Which on one hand is easier for us because we don't have the responsibility at all parts, which is nice because every other customer does their IT and security in another way. But second, how do you say it? It makes sure that we are operating in the most safe way possible.
Nice. I read an article this morning in Tesla's last earnings call. He talked about turning every Tesla into Amazon Web Service hub using the computing power from the cars. So I'm like, whoa, that's next level.
That's next level. Yeah.
Where's this going?
Yeah. Well, maybe he can focus on making money first instead of getting his own 53 billion bonus. Yeah.
Peter, thank you so much. Really nice to have you guys connected. Congratulations on the solution certification. Anybody who's interested, you can get in touch with Peter through Darwin, through LinkedIn. Is there another place that they can find you?
No, that's main. Those two are mainly. So Peter at smartbuildingsoftware.com. You can also go to our website, darwin.technology, or indeed find me at LinkedIn or the SBC platform, of course.
Yeah, you can get in touch with us and we can connect you as well. Watch this space, more to come. We're going to be doing a lot of interesting things together in the coming months. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to together with you guys at the first smart building accreditation to a city environment.
Absolutely, let's do it.
Okay,
looking forward
more to come. Thank you very much, Nicholas.
Take care.
Okay, bye bye.